Yellowstone National Park is known for its beauty, its wildlife, and of course, its supervolcano. But did you know that there's something else brewing beneath the surface? Literally. A new discovery has revealed a hidden world of geothermal activity that was previously unknown. So what exactly have scientists just found? And how does it affect our understanding of this already fascinating park? Well, let's find out. The Yellowstone supervolcano is a beast. It's big, powerful, and kind of scary. This massive volcanic system located in the northwest corner of Wyoming is the largest active volcanic center in the contiguous United States. In fact, it's so big that if you were to take all of the land it covers, it would be about the size of Rhode Island. But don't worry, we're safe. Right now, at least, because the last time it erupted was 640,000 years ago. That's a long time in the past. So the chances of it erupting anytime soon are pretty low. Or maybe we just hope they are. But here's where things get interesting. Even though the supervolcano hasn't erupted in a while, it's still very much active. And I mean really active. There's so much geothermal activity happening beneath the surface that it actually creates its own heat. I'm talking temperatures up to 1100 degrees Fahrenheit or 600 degrees Celsius. To put that into perspective, that's hot enough to melt rock and create magma chambers filled with molten goodness. Now that's not exactly something you want bubbling away under your feet. So it's a good thing that most of this activity is happening deep underground where we can't see it. Now, you might be wondering why there's so much geothermal activity in the first place. And the answer lies in the unique geology of the area. You see, the Earth's crust is made up of several large pieces called tectonic plates that are constantly moving and interacting with each other. And where these plates meet, interesting things happen. Like, for example, at the San Andreas Fault in California, the Pacific plate is sliding past the North American plate. This movement creates friction and stress that builds up over time. And when it's released, we get earthquakes. Similarly, at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, the two Americas plates are moving apart, which allows magma from the Earth's mantle to rise and create new oceanic crust. This process is responsible for the continuous creation of new ocean floor. Now Yellowstone sits pretty much right on top of a hotspot, which is basically a plume of hot magma that comes up from deep within the Earth's mantle. This plume is created by a superplume, which is like a giant underground geyser that ejects magma and heat onto the surface. The hotspot is currently located under Yellowstone, but it's been wandering around for a long time, leaving behind a trail of dormant volcanoes in its wake. Now, this isn't your average garden variety volcano. We're talking about something that's way bigger and way more powerful than anything else in the area. The Yellowstone supervolcano is the real deal, and it's been creating quite a stir among scientists recently. You see, back in 1872, when Yellowstone was first established as a national park, people came from all over the world to see its geysers, hot springs, and mud pots. These geothermal features were and still are a major draw for tourists who come to marvel at the raw, natural beauty of the park. But what people didn't realize back then was that there was something else going on beneath the surface. Something big, something powerful, and something potentially dangerous. In the early days of Yellowstone, the focus was on the park's iconic wildlife, including bison, elk, and of course, Old Faithful. Geologists weren't really on the scene studying the park's geothermal features. It wasn't until the 1960s that scientists really started to understand the true nature of Yellowstone, and what they found was nothing short of incredible. One of the first major breakthroughs came when a team of geologists, led by Robert Decker and Lee Anderson, discovered a vast network of interconnected magma chambers beneath the park. These chambers are basically giant underground rooms where magma can pool before it erupts, and they're huge. One of the largest chambers is over 40 miles or 65 kilometers in diameter. That's the size of a small city. Now, the discovery of these magma chambers was a game changer. It showed that there was a lot more going on beneath the surface of Yellowstone than anyone had realized. But that was just the beginning. Over the years, scientists have continued to uncover more and more about the Yellowstone supervolcano. They've used all sorts of fancy technology, including seismic sensors, GPS trackers, and even airplanes, to study the park's geothermal activity. And what they've found is truly mind-blowing. One of the most exciting discoveries came in 2018, when a team of researchers led by Jacob Lowenstern detected a nearly continuous uplift in the park's caldera. The caldera is basically the giant bowl-shaped depression that's left over after a massive volcanic eruption. And when the researchers studied it closely, they noticed that it was slowly but surely getting bigger. It was like watching a giant underground beast stretching and yawning, and it was all happening in real time. Another fascinating discovery came when scientists analyzed the gases that are emitted from Yellowstone's geothermal features. They found that the ratio of carbon dioxide to sulfur dioxide was unusually high, which indicated that there was a lot of magma churning beneath the surface. It was like trying to sneak peek into the belly of the beast, and what they saw was both fascinating and a little bit terrifying. Okay, so all of this talk about volcanoes and magma chambers might be getting a little bit too technical for some of you. So let me break it down for you using something that everyone loves: pizza. Imagine that you're at a pizza shop and you see a really thick and cheesy pizza on the menu. You order it, and when it arrives, you notice that it's bubbling and smoking. Well, that's kind of like Yellowstone's magma chambers. They're full of hot, bubbly magma that's just waiting to erupt. But wait, there's more. You also notice that the pizza is slightly raised in the middle, like it's bulging. Well, that's kind of like Yellowstone's caldera. The weight of the magma beneath the surface is pushing up on the ground, making it bulge in the middle. It's like a giant pizza stone that's been heated up in an oven. And finally, you also notice that the edges of the pizza are slightly charred. Well, that's kind of like Yellowstone's hydrothermal features, like the geysers and hot springs. The heat from the magma below is seeping out of the ground, creating all sorts of cool effects. Now that you've got that mental image in your head, let's get back to the science. You see, the reason why Yellowstone's magma chambers are so important is because they give us a window into the inner workings of the volcano. By studying them, scientists can learn more about how magma forms and moves through the Earth's crust. And that's not just academic curiosity. It could actually help us predict future eruptions and mitigate the risks. But it's not all just about the magma chambers. Scientists have also been busy exploring the rest of the Yellowstone supervolcano. They've studied the faults and fractures in the surrounding rocks to try and understand how magma might move through them. They've also analyzed the composition of the steam and gases that come out of the hydrothermal features to try and figure out what's happening beneath the surface. And what they've found is a complex and dynamic system that's constantly changing. It's like trying to solve a giant puzzle, and every piece that they find brings them closer to understanding the full picture. But it's not easy. The conditions beneath Yellowstone are harsh and unforgiving. The temperatures are extreme, the environment is toxic, and the pressure is immense. It's not your typical work environment, but that doesn't stop scientists from trying. One of the coolest tools that they use is a device called a borehole seismograph. This device is basically a fancy microphone that can listen to the sounds of the Earth. By recording the vibrations that occur beneath the surface, scientists can get a sense of what's going on below the surface. It's like listening to the heartbeat of the planet. They've also used something called remote sensing, which involves using satellites and aircraft to gather data about Yellowstone. This can give scientists a bird's-eye view of the park and help them monitor changes over time. It's like having X-ray vision, except instead of seeing through walls, you're seeing through layers of rock and soil. So what have scientists actually found? Well, for starters, they've discovered that the magma chambers beneath Yellowstone are much more interconnected than they originally thought. Instead of being isolated pockets of magma, they're all part of a larger system that's connected like a giant underground river. They've also found that the magma itself is constantly moving and evolving. It's not just sitting there doing nothing. It's actually changing in response to the forces that are acting on it. And here's the really cool part. By studying these processes, Scientists are able to learn more about what happened during past eruptions and what might happen in the future. It's like being a detective and putting together clues from the past to solve a mystery. Except instead of solving crimes, they're solving volcanic eruptions. Of course, no discussion of Yellowstone would be complete without mentioning the bears. Okay, maybe that's not entirely true, but bear with me. You see, Yellowstone is home to a large population of grizzly bears and black bears, and these bears are not only adorable and cuddly, they're also super smart. I mean, they're basically the Einsteins of the bear world. And what makes them so smart is their ability to adapt and evolve over time. Just like the magma beneath Yellowstone, bears are constantly changing in response to the environment around them. For example, in the early days of Yellowstone, bears had to contend with hordes of tourists who were always getting in their way. But over time they learned to adapt to human presence, and they became less afraid of us. Today, you can actually see bears roaming around Yellowstone without being too bothered by humans. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but it's actually a remarkable feat of evolution. Bears normally don't hang out with humans because we're loud, smelly, and unpredictable. But the bears in Yellowstone have learned to adapt to our presence, and they've become more comfortable around us than bears anywhere else in the world. It's like they've unlocked a new level in a thrilling adventure game. But of course, not all bears are the same. There's a big difference between a grizzly bear and a polar bear, and that's where grizzly bears are concerned. Their intelligence is key to their survival. They're able to use tools to get food, and they're able to plan ahead and make decisions based on what they need to survive. In other words, they're basically little bear Einsteins. And it turns out that grizzly bear intelligence is closely linked to the amount of geothermal activity that's happening beneath Yellowstone. You see, the heat from the Earth's core creates a unique environment in Yellowstone that's unlike anywhere else. And this environment shapes the behavior of the animals that live there, including bears. For example, grizzly bears in Yellowstone are more active during the winter months when other bears are basically hibernating. This is because the geothermal activity keeps the temperature in Yellowstone relatively warm, even in the winter. And that means that there's more food available for bears to eat. Basically, Yellowstone's geothermal activity creates a buffet for bears, and that's why they're smarter than bears in other places. Of course, this is just one example of how Yellowstone's geothermal activity affects the animals that live there. There are all sorts of other fascinating connections between bears, volcanoes, and everything in between, and scientists are still working to uncover them, so what does it all mean? Why should you care about Yellowstone's geothermal activity? Well, for starters, it's just plain cool. There's something really fascinating about the idea of a supervolcano hiding beneath a national park. It's like a sleeping giant that could erupt at any moment and change the world forever. But it's not just about the thrill of the unknown. Understanding the geothermal activity at Yellowstone helps us learn more about the Earth's inner workings. It gives us insights into the forces that shape our planet and the amazing animals that live on it. And who knows, maybe one day it will even help us predict future eruptions and keep everyone safe. So keep an eye on Yellowstone. You never know what secrets it might reveal next. Thank you for joining me on this journey to Yellowstone National Park. If you enjoyed this adventure, please give it a thumbs up. Let's keep exploring the wonders of our world together.